The Sony FX3 and A7S3 are absolute beasts when it comes to low light performance. So that's why I chose to light myself with candlelight only for this video. And yeah, I know it looks like I'm about to go straight Harry Potter on you guys and start casting spells or something like Lumos. Not a bad fill light, but kind of a Harry Potter nerd, but let's get into this. So right off the bat, I'm gonna tell you what camera gear and settings I'm using for this scene. So I'm shooting this on the Sony FX3 with the 16-35 G Master lens at f2.8. As you probably have already heard, the FX3 and A7S3 are dual native ISO. Although Sony hasn't officially come out and said that, maybe there's some technicality that makes it so they can't, because really that would be a great marketing thing for them. It's very obvious that it is dual native ISO at 640 and 12,800 ISO. And I will show you many examples of that in this video. I shot a bunch of low light example footage that I'm going to show you in just a second here. And like I said, I'm being completely lit by this single wick candle only, and it looks pretty good and a really low noise floor because I'm shooting at that native ISO of 12,800 ISO. Now, really quickly, I do want to address this kind of cool blue light coming in through the window here. I wanted to kind of fake that moonlight, although I know moonlight's not really blue, it's much more white. But I'm gonna go turn that off really quick so you can see just how well lit I still am without this accent light hitting the background. Now, as you can see, the entire scene has completely changed. It's much, much more warm, and I'm still being lit by this single candle only, but we've lost that beautiful color contrast of the cools and warms that you see so often in cinema. I just wanted to show you guys that the background light is really not keying me at all. It just adds that nice color separation. So I'm gonna go turn it back on. Okay, now that you fully understand the lighting setup that we've got going on here, let's take a look at the example footage that I shot. So as you can see from that footage, the Sony FX3 can literally see in the dark. I mean, there were times when I was out shooting that my camera could see things that the naked eye could not. So that is pretty incredible. And I actually recorded everything externally onto the Atomos Ninja V in ProRes 422. Now, I thought about shooting it in ProRes RAW, but I'm actually going to be making an entire deep dive into ProRes RAW with the Sony FX3, so just keep an eye out for that dropping on the channel really soon. Now, shooting in S-Log2 or S-Log3 at night is something that I've seen thoroughly debated in the comments section and in many forums. And it's something that I've struggled with in the past because I've noticed that S-Log can add a bit of extra noise. And what I've noticed when shooting with the Sony FX3 and A7S3 in S-Log, it really doesn't add an absurd amount of noise to your footage. It's totally usable. And of course, you get so much more information to color grade with and pull and push in post-production than you would if you weren't shooting in a flat picture profile. Now, when you first pull up the footage on your computer, it's gonna look abnormally bright for a nighttime situation, which is just crazy to say because pretty much any other camera you shoot with is not gonna give you unusually bright footage for nighttime. So this is a great problem to have because in post-production, you can of course lower those blacks and really crush them to be exactly where you want them to be. And if you don't want to do that, you can still have room for those details in the shadows. So typically the way I color grade these clips is I get the low points of the waveform to just barely touch 0, and that means that they are at true black. And then of course I bring up the midtones and highlights to get them exactly where I want them to be, but of course you gotta be careful here so you don't add a bunch of extra noise by brightening it up too much. Now a quick disclaimer, just because the Sony FX3, A7S3, and other A7S cameras do really well in low light, it doesn't mean that you don't have to light your scenes. And I see memes and comments and conversations like this online all the time. They're like, oh, dude, my camera does so well in low light, I don't need to light anything. Like, who needs lights? That's of course totally the wrong approach. Lights make the scene, they really shape it and make it look beautiful. I mean, imagine if I didn't have any of these candles on or this backlight and I was like, I could just shoot in this dark office, that'll look good. I mean, obviously it really wouldn't. So you definitely still want to light your scenes. Of course, all the example footage I shot was just using the natural street light, but in reality, if I had characters in the scene, I would of course be bringing in key lights. They just don't have to be that powerful or bright though to get the lighting that you need on your subject. I mean, just take this for example. I have a single candle lighting me and it's doing a great job. In my opinion, the Sony FX3 and A7S3 are the best low light performance cameras that have ever been made. And if you need a larger camera, the Sony FX6, FX9, and the Sony Venice have really similar low light performance. So if you shoot in a lot of low light environments like concerts, weddings, events, or even music videos, picking up a camera like this is a great choice. All right guys, if you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe right now because I have a ton more videos coming out in shooting, editing, lighting, gear reviews, everything like that, and you don't want to miss it. All right, I'll see you in the next video.